right. Hi, Max.
Hello.
Hi, Max Cavalera. I don't have to introduce that person to you guys because you all love the music that you bring to the world.
Thank you.
Welcome to Vizovice. Welcome to the Czech Republic.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. You know, I love the festival. I love Czech Republic in general. I think the fans are very excited here. They really seem to like SOULFLY a lot. Every time we come, it gets more popular and really great feedback from the fans. So we are very excited for tonight. Of course, we are on tour in Europe, doing a lot of festivals and some headlines. So I'm very excited to be here. It's I already walk around a little bit, and you know, we just played yesterday. We played in Austria. Mm-hmm. We arrived here this morning, and I just enjoy. You know, it's great. You know, I live for this. The only thing I'm qualified for is this. So I better enjoy it. You know.
I know that the Czech fans love you. Do you remember your first concert with SOULFLY here in the Czech Republic?
It was early 2000s, I think 2003, 2004.
You know, I wasn't there, but my boyfriend was there. It was in 1998.
Oh, okay, wow,
In
I
Prague,
was wrong.
in Prague, in Eden, in Prague.
Okay.
He was there and he told me this morning, he said, you know what, tell Max, because he is a really excellent guitar player, but he said, I was so blown away that I'm traumatized for the rest of my life. He meant in good, you know, he was like, I'm never gonna play, because after he heard you, he was like, wow.
Oh.
And I think, you know, that way a lot of Czech fans react. They were like, because they were, you know, they were curious what kind of music SOULFLY will bring.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the status is clear.
Well, yeah, to me it's always been, it's a journey, you know, it's a long journey. It started in Brazil, of course, I think now it's 40 years I'm making music and touring for close to 30, I think, 27 years touring, you know. And the best thing about it is that I don't lose the passion. You know, I'm nervous before the show. I'm gonna be nervous tonight. Yeah, very nervous.
Really?
Very
Okay.
like butterflies and
all
everything.
right.
Yeah. But I think that's good, you know. It's a good anxiety. It's a good nervous, you know. It's a different kind of nervous than other type of nervous that you get. This is good.
It's more like an excitement,
It's
right?
an excitement.
Yeah.
It's excitement, nervous type thing. It's difficult to explain, but it lasts all the way till you hit the stage, and then you hear that roar, and you have your guitar, and you hear the first note, and it goes away. The minute you hit the stage, it's incredible. It's like, it's magic, you know? I think there's a lot of magic in me. I know it's cheesy to say magic, but I don't know another word to describe this, because it's a crazy feeling that we get on the stage, and I think the fans get it, you know? And I think a lot of times also SOULFLY shows tend to be almost like rituals, you know. They are more than a rock show. It becomes more like I think that because of the whole tribal feeling that we bring to it, becomes almost like a religious experience type thing. Everywhere is very connected, you know, and through all the songs, you know. And I love that about SOULFLY. I think it's a very positive band as well.
I have the same feeling, and about like disappearing of the stage fright that you spoke about, or the nervousness when you come on stage. I believe that when the artist works from the bottom of the heart, the people immediately connect. They feel it, and there's this mutual like feeling. Yeah, we're in it together, and let's enjoy it.
It's true, and also, you know, I also like the fact that we are kind of like a old school type of band where everything is live, you know. We use minimal playback, maybe intros, 2-3 songs we have an intro, but everything else is us. So it's all organic. So it's all coming from us playing the instruments, which goes back to the Beatles. You know, if you go back in rock history, it goes back to Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, real live, organic. Right. It's every night a little bit different, you know, and I like that because it makes so it's not robotic. You know, every show is not the same. So tonight I'm sure it's going to be different from last night, you know. Last night was crazy because we had this huge storm right before SOULFLY went on. It was black. And then we went on and it was sun came up. It was like magic. It was
beautiful.
Crazy. Yeah, it was cool. Tonight, I don't know, it's a midnight, you know. It's like, I hope that people are excited and ready to party.
The sun will probably not come up. But
we hope for a big moon. I'll take the moon.
Yeah. I would like to ask you about the album Totem. I'm pretty drawn to all the titles or the topics that you sing about, that you play about, you know, ritual, totem. It brings me kind of back to the roots of maybe Native Americans.
There's a
Does
connection.
it have anything in common?
Yeah. There's a connection for sure, and I think especially Totem was really created in many ways. A lot of the songs were using nature as inspiration, you know, for the record, which is kind of it's cool because especially in the time that we live in now with the you know, everybody going more social media and electronic and you know, Facebook, Instagram, all that. We kind of forget about nature, you know, and nature is very powerful. It's a very strong force in the world, and I like that about this record that pays tribute to nature elements. Yeah. Of course, I live in Arizona, and it's only 2 hours from Navajo reservations. I visit them. I'm friends with them. You know, I do concerts there all the time.
Really?
So I'm very connected with them, with a lot of the tribal people of New Mexico, Arizona. When we play, especially when we play New Mexico, Albuquerque, 70% of the crowd is Native American. You know, and it's very, very cool. It's very strong. And I don't know, maybe because I'm from Brazil, they connect with me through that. I don't know. There's something definitely there that connects us. But also, in a weird way, connects me to these parts of the world, to a lot of the Eastern European countries. I also connect because of my Brazilian roots. I hear that from a lot of people. They connect
and also
because
Italian,
of that.
Right? Italian
roots as well. Yeah, a little bit of everything, you know. But yeah, I love the culture and I love the idea. You know, we made a record called Ritual, and we did some recordings with the Navajos, and Totem is a continuation of that. I like to explore more in that world. I think SOULFLY is becoming more and more a band that can do all this kind of stuff and get away with it. You know, we can do it. Like our fans are actually, they're surprised, but in a good way, not in a shock way. Like, oh no, I can't believe they did that. More like, oh, that's cool. I love that Max goes out of his way. You know, I get out of my comfort zone to try to record these sounds and put on the record. You know, I want to do more of that. Actually, the future of SOULFLY record is gonna even have more, even from other parts of the world.
I'm really thankful for any band, especially yours, you know, that touches these topics, because you know, in today's world, people don't care much about environment and about the nature, about even, you know, the soulful things, and that is something that I feel or people feel from your music, and I think that is that magic, you know, that is, they feel like maybe it's like nutrition for their souls.
There is definitely for sure. Also I think there's a strong spiritual connection to the music as well.
Yeah.
I think since my departure from Sepultura, when I created SOULFLY, I created already with this idea of doing something more messing with the spiritual world, and going more to the positive side of metal. And I think that is really interesting to me because, I don't know, 30 years ago, you couldn't really imagine this because a lot of metal was just, and even I was part of it in the Sepultura, it was very more negative, dark, negative. And I like that, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But also, it's cool that it's also positive and brings some kind of hope to the people. And I hear that from a lot of SOULFLY fans that the music has helped them through hard times, you know. And to me, that's almost like that's my currency. That's when I get paid from comments like that. To me, that's
the confirmation that I'm doing something right.
Something right, something real, something honest, something, you know, positive. To me, it's in a weird way, it's more important than gold records or Grammy Awards, you know. Yeah. Those things are cool too, but yeah, they're more material, you know. When you get somebody telling you that your music has saved them, that's deeper than that. It goes in a deeper meaning, you know.
Right.
And I like them, but you know that really, you know, like catches my heart.